Module 8 case study for EDL 853. This is a case that happens, I think, in a lot of schools where a teacher's fed up with a student and they want them out of their classroom for the variety of reasons. In this case, it's that the student Carl is causing the teacher some undue stress and some fear for her safety and her well-being. She doesn't seem willing to compromise and willing to work with him any longer. She just wants him gone. The problems that exist, the main ones are that his behavior can be inappropriate if Mrs. Taylor's allegations are true, that we see she's unwilling to work with him and compromise, that his parents are either unwilling or don't have the skills themselves to help Carl with his issues, and that our special education person, Susan, feels very let down. What I do need to know from all of this is some of the issues going on at home. Does Carl have abuse going on in his life? Is there bullying going on at school? I would also want to know, is he having these troubles with other teachers, or is it just with Mrs. Taylor? I would think that if this was brought to me, I would really start with Carl and have some conversations with him about what's going on, because he is the one that does need to change his behavior in order to start moving in the right direction for his education. I would also want to visit with Mrs. Taylor quite a bit, because she seems to be having a lack of compassion and an ability to compromise with Carl. I would want to find out from some conversations with Carl's parents if there's a way that we can work together regardless of the problems with the divorce. My proposed plan of action is pretty simple in 3 steps. I would want to create a behavior intervention plan for Carl. I would want to increase Mrs. Taylor's teaching skills and her abilities to work with special needs students. And I would really try to have Carl's parents get on board with the plan of action. In order to implement these plans, I think we'd have to start backwards with Carl's parents and himself, getting them on board with a common written down goal that we can all agree on, maybe include Susan in this conversation as well. From that point, we can start working forward. We can start having weekly meetings, counseling sessions. We can find ways to encourage Carl from home. We can also refer back to this written plan as needed and update his IEP as needed. Implementing the plan further. I think that Mrs. Taylor has some strong feelings about this. I would want to have her meet with me and discuss her feelings and apprehensions and find ways to send her to some clinics and workshops and professional development to enhance her ability to teach special needs students. Question about, does the resolution of the problem promote the success of all students? And I think it really does. We're trying to fix the problem with Carl in the classroom because it's also interrupting Mrs. Taylor's ability to teach the other 20, 25 students in the classroom, whatever it may be. He cannot be a hindrance to the other kids' learning. So we do have to have some modification plans in place and some consequences in place for his behavior should they get out of control in the classroom. And then also promoting the success of all students, having Mrs. Taylor attend those clinics is one way to do that as well. As I thought about this and as I reflected on it, I've had this instance in my class, I've had this instance in our school with certain students, and I think it's a normal reaction to some teachers. I don't think any of us are immune to having such strong feelings. Sometimes students just know exactly how to push your buttons, and it can be the wrong day and the right time for the student to do that, and you can have a reaction that you're not expecting nor wanting. I think that Mrs. Taylor's has gone on past that, where she has a consistent lack of compassion and a consistent lack of ability to work with Carl. And I think that the root of the problem is what's going on at home in Carl's life. I think that he comes to school and he communicates in a way that frustrates Mrs. Taylor, but he is communicating something. So we need to figure out what exactly he is communicating. And I think it is some things that are going on from home. I think there's some unresolved issues. We don't know if Carl ever did get put on his brother's medication. We don't know if his outbursts have subsided. We don't know if he's increased his outburst. We also don't know if his parents are on better terms from the divorce. And we don't know what's being done for Mrs. Taylor to improve her abilities. There's evidence in my plan of action that I promoted the success of all students. Carl's intervention plan for his behavior, the consequences that I would lay out, the contract that we would write up and sign for the goals, that would help Carl, and it would help the classroom students have a better learning environment. And how me as the educational leader promoted the personal well-being of the students. If Carl is in fact having outbursts that are a safety issue, some of these removal procedures would definitely promote the success, well-being of all students. And how did we enhance the instructional capacity? Well, sending Mrs. Taylor through whether it's counseling with me or someone else at the school, and then furthermore sending her to some clinics, workshops, professional development that center around how to work with and teach and enhance the instructional capacity that you have to teach students with special needs. I think all those things coupled together are going to be the answer for Carl and Miss Taylor.